So, I've never really been into any sort of futuristic or sci-fi thing, and for a while I just never really thought about it. But recently I realized that, as I was thinking about it, the reason I've never really liked any sci-fi thing is just because things like that are like futuristic usually don't have plants. Like, when you think about the types of environments there are in any sort of media that depicts a futuristic area, it's always very built up and technical, and rarely do you actually see any sort of greenery. Or, if there is plants, then usually it's actually some sort of alien world, which, that's a whole nother thing, like for another video. I have I have issues with alien plants as well, but that's for another time. Basically, my point is you don't really see just natural areas in sci-fi or futuristic settings, and that's kind of the reason why I've never been into them. I'm really into naturey things. I'm a big grass enjoyer. So if there's some sort of theme that doesn't have much nature to it at all, it's hard for me to really work with it. So I began kind of thinking like how nature and the sci-fi elements could kind of work together. And I started going down like the road of combining prehistoric with futuristic. But now, you might be thinking like that's been done before. Actually, that's been done quite a lot. There was a lot of media with futuristic and prehistoric elements. And yet, the way that it's been done, from everything that I've seen at least, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't. I think the problem is it's not that it's mixing together futuristic and prehistoric themes. It's more like it's taking a futuristic thing and a prehistoric thing and putting them next to each other. Like, take the game Ark, for example. It's a survival game where you're out in nature and there are dinosaurs, but you can also create more sci-fi gadgets and weapons and stuff. Which, like, yes, that is combining the idea of futuristic and prehistoric together, but they still don't feel like they blend together at all. Like, they still feel like they are two completely separate things put together. Or, for another example, take Horizon Zero Dawn, which, again, mixes these two themes together. Like, it has robotic dinosaurs, and your weapons and gadgets in the game are definitely more sci-fi, but then there's also a very primitive element to it. That game definitely does a better job of blending the two together, but it still doesn't feel quite right. Like, there's a lot of points where it still feels like they took this sci-fi part and then they kind of pasted it onto a more primitive part. Like, I guess the idea is that they have advanced technology, but they don't quite have enough technology to keep working with, so they have to get a bit more primitive and use parts of the environment. Like, say for example, you have an advanced sci-fi bow, but then you run out of arrows. You're going to have to start using just basic arrows you make from the environment. Stuff like that. Which is like, it fits for that game, but it's not what I'm after. See, what I'm after here is like futuristic technology, but it's made from primitive materials, or just any sort of organic material you'd find out in nature, not some sort of smooth, sleek, white metal gun, but rather a gun made from like bone or a skull. Because I think the way that a lot of media will use these two ideas together is it's like someone has advanced technology, but they themselves are not really, like, they don't fully understand it. Like how most people don't understand exactly how a computer works. They couldn't make a computer out in the wild, but they have that technology, and if they got stranded in the wild, maybe they could take apart that technology to use it in some other way. Like, if your car completely breaks down somewhere, and there's just no hope of starting it again, you could at the very least use that car to like maybe start a fire, or like use its gas for something. You wouldn't be able to make a new car from scratch, but you could use the parts of the car to your advantage in some way. That's just how most media will mix together primitive and sci-fi themes. But the way that I'm thinking is it's like, what if there's maybe some sort of alien or advanced civilization that just has the knowledge of how to make a computer, but then the only materials they have are organic wild materials. So it's like they're mixing them together to create these machines, despite the fact that these materials are still very basic and wild. Just things like rocks and wood and wires made from grass. And so that was the direction I went in when designing these things. Basically, I tried to figure out how I could take very basic, especially prehistoric elements, and then kind of think of how would some sort of advanced civilization turn these basic materials into a piece of equipment. And although for this piece I did especially focus on prehistoric things like bones and rocks and fossils, you could definitely take this sort of futuristic with organic materials in a whole lot of other directions. Like, I could easily imagine there being a lot of different ways to create technology that is completely out of wood, like a VR wood headset or a wooden tablet, maybe even some sort of tree stump hover vehicle. And I mean, actually, this really just applies to any sort of organic material at all. You can make equipment out of ice or sand, rock, really anything. A lot of advanced technology frequently just uses that plain, smooth, sleek, white metal design with black highlights. But you could really just use any material in place of that white, smooth material, and it would still create the look of a thing that is futuristic, especially if you add in a lot of neon lights and stuff like that. But if you just replace that white material with literally anything else, it would really change the feel of it, I think. I feel like there's a huge amount of possible ways that you could remix any sort of sci-fi futuristic setting and replace it with an organic theme while still maintaining that clean futuristic feel. Because the thing is, there is a lot to like about sci-fi, you know? It's very clean, very open, very sleek. I know I've said those words a lot, but like, that's how you describe it. It's clean. I mean, I guess there's also a lot of other unclean futuristic things, but typically it is very clean. And nature can sometimes be just a little bit too dirty or rough. So mixing together nature with this clean element, I think really could lead to a lot of interesting new directions for things.